Now Hear This is a music review podcast and is not directly affiliated with any artists or album projects discussed on the show. Think of us like your record collection come to life. Well, except for some of those juvenile albums. There are other ways to back that ass up.
You got a record of your favorite songs. You got an hour and it won't take long. You got a pair of brand new friends. You got a ticket, gonna stick to the end. I said, now hear this. Now hear this. Now hear this show right now.
It's such a vulnerable process, like recording these songs that I like spend on my private time writing, and then like the first time you play a song live, it's really scary. But it's sounding pretty good.
Oliver Paul, 20 years old, thick head of hair, worries he's going bald. Wakes up at 9:15, Ferrovates his way down the 96 tram line. Breakfast on the run again, he's well aware he's dropping soil in seed, Vegemite crumbs everywhere. Sick at the sight of his computer, he dodges his way through the Swanston commuters, rips off his tie, hands it to a homeless man sleeping in the corner of a metro bus stand. He screams, I'm not going to work today, gonna count the minutes that the trains run late, sit on the grass building pyramids out of Coke cans.
Well, Ryan, when last we saw each other, we were having a lot of laughs.
Yep, I remember that. The good old days.
About sickness and how it was elsewhere, not affecting us.
A bunch of fake news media.
Uh-huh.
Why do I always sound like I'm Alex Jones on this podcast? I got to dial it back.
Now we're back in the studio, and
yeah.
I see you've got a lovely bubble here. Mine, I feel like, is not quite as nice as yours. This is the first time I've recorded inside of two giant respective bubbles.
Yeah.
So that's exciting for me, but it just shows how far we've fallen.
This is a big problem. Not the coronavirus. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm talking about your brand of bubble. Like, what?
Bubble situation.
You could have just paid the extra $30 to get the premium brand bubble that I got on Amazon.
Yeah.
Our new overlord and father and mother.
All praise be to Bezos.
Thank you, Lord Bezos. May I rub your shiny bald head.
I respect the decision, by the way. I respect the Bezos in that he committed to the baldness because Mr. Musk.
Yeah. Mr. Musk. Elon Musk.
Let's table for a moment the idea that I am now just isolating his last name for the first time ever, and it is indeed just Musk. Let's table that for a second.
Okay.
And just focus for... So he was balding too, and he got plugs.
Did he?
He plugged himself up with his billions and billions of dollars. He plugged his head up. Bezos, shine. Nothing but shine.
Bezos wanted nothing to do with haircuts. Well, I guess it's more haircuts, right? Because you got to bick it up.
What I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
There's a difference in approach there, you know?
Oh, yeah, the cover up
Well,
and then the embracements.
Which do you prefer, the cover up or the embrace?
I like the embrace, and I also like the Jeff Bezos. If you type in, this is a fun fact for everyone listening, everybody that survives the coronavirus can check this out. If you type in relentless.com in your browser right now, what happens? Why don't you just try it out?
I'm doing it.
Break the fourth wall. That's not Google. You're not Googling
It's
anything.
not a Google. Relentless.com.
There's no spell check in URLs. Ah!
Wow.
That was the original.
Wow.
It was one of the names that he was going to call Amazon.
Huh.
But he still owns the URL.
Oh, man. So, as Ryan said, we are back in our bubbles amongst the plague. I hope you're all having a happy plague out there. I hope you're surviving.
Yeah.
We are here also surviving, and
Hello.
talking about an album this week that I brought to the table. I'm very excited to talk about this. Courtney Barnett's Sometimes I Sit and Think and Sometimes I Just Sit. One of my favorite albums.
Yeah, it's a very good album. And my entry to this was whenever it came out, I was delivered the first track of a song into my Discover Weekly, and it knocks around playlists of mine.
Huh.
I just didn't recognize the artist name when you sent it to me. I'm like, who the hell is Courtney Barnett? Dana Barrett?
Now? Dana Barrett! Ow!
There is no Corona, only Zool. So, yeah, Elevator Operator. Now, I don't want to skip ahead, but like, it's just such a refreshing style of song. And that I was like, I don't even know who I can compare this to off the top.
I was similarly struck by the unique sounding nature of it, although when I heard it for the first time, so the album came out in 2015, I heard it shortly after it came out. And, well, I guess, jumping ahead a little bit, I got to know it because Courtney did a Blue Series single for Jack White's Third Man Records.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and she did a variation on Boxing Day Blues, basically took the title Boxing Day Blues, rewrote the song into something completely different, and then recorded that as a Blue Room Series single. So I was following the Blue Room Series singles pretty closely and listened to this one, and I enjoyed it a lot. It sounds a lot different than her other material, but there is a Dylan-y quality to it, which I think is perhaps what attracted Jack White to her sound, because he and Dylan are close.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a very Bob Dylan quality. As you were texting me earlier in the week, it's very lyric dense.
Yes, yeah.
There's also a grunge kind of sauce sort of poured on the top of it. It really is the marriage of folk rock or I don't know. How would you classify Dylan other than folk rock?
Legendary status?
I'm looking for something like folk poet. Like folk poet meets Kurt Cobain's Seattle.
Well, you don't want to call him coffee shop. He's part of I'd call him Greenwich Village acoustic singer-songwriter. He's Bob Dylan. Okay. Bob Dylan is a songwriter and one of our best lyricists, wordsmiths. His interviews are just as good as his songs. You ever read any of these interviews?
Some of them, yeah.
There's this really great book of interviews of songwriters. The title escapes me. Maybe it'll come to me. Bob Dylan's interview, one of the first questions is something along the lines of, songwriting is like catching fish. And whoever's downstream from you, Bob, they must be so frustrated because you keep catching the big fish. How do you do it? And his 2-word answer is, the bait.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it's really funny.
I love that. Have you heard his, not to date the episode, although we already have, talking within our bubbles, have you heard his new 17-minute John F. Kennedy tribute track he just released?
No?
He dropped his first new song in 8 years, and it's a 17-minute opus about the assassination of Jonathan Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Oh my, I know what I'm doing after this session. Seems short for Bob.
Yeah. So we'll just do a little bit of background here on Courtney's career, because actually, although I'm a big fan of hers and have been following her records since this album came out in 2015, I knew very little actually about her career. And so anyway, she was born November 3rd, 1987, so she's 2 years younger than me and a year younger than you.
Yeah.
Her middle name is literally Melba. She's Australian through and through.
Wow.
Grew up in Sydney, moved to a town called Hobart when she was 16, and was inspired by a lot of Australian singer-songwriters that I didn't recognize the names of, Darren Hanlon and Paul Kelly.
Staying locked inside all day is no big deal. But I'm yet to read a travel brochure that could change the way that I feel. It's suffocating in the car.
It's just the way some families are.
It's a book you'll get around to read.
Welcome strangers to the show. I'm the one who should be lying low. So the knives out, turn my back. Heard the
So she played guitar in a group that called itself Rapid Transit growing up, and they did in fact release an album on cassette, as well as an early band that she was in called the Olivettes, which released a 100-copy EP CD that was hand-numbered. So, you know, on the underground side of things, she's, you know, growing up, playing in a lot of bands, cutting her teeth, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
From 2011 to 2013, she was in a band called Immigrant Union with Brent DeBoer of the Dandy Warhols. You know the Dandy Warhols?
I think it's DeBoy, but I also am
phonetically
challenged. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I like the Dandy Warhols, all right. They're okay.
They're just fine.
I know some Dandy Warhol super fans out there. I liked A Long Time Ago, We Used to Be Friends, that song. I like that one. So she's bouncing around the clubs. She's cutting her teeth. Then she meets somebody named Jen Clower.
Yeah.
And Jen was an Australian singer-songwriter, very active in the 2000s, sort of in that indie rock boom kind of thing. She released an album, Deadwood Falls, in 2006, operating under the name Jen Clower and the Endless Sea, with a smattering of Australian musicians in her backing band.
The wounds that we have no words for, words only go so far. Use them up and I spit them out, but they never heal the scar. If I could be in your city, if I could be in your bed, if I could be plastered to your body, would it be in a better affair? Be in a better affair.
She subsequently released 2 other albums to big critical praise in her native country, and she was nominated for something called an ARIA or ARIA Music Award. I guess it's the Australian Music Awards.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Are you familiar with these at all?
I'm not that familiar, but I know roughly what you're referring to.
Yeah, so it was the loss of Jen's parents in 2011 that kind of sent her career into a temporary hiatus, but when she reemerged a year later, she was with a new band and a new record, this time featuring a young singer-songwriter named Courtney Barnett. And Courtney and Jen would become romantic partners as well as professional partners. They were together for 6 years before ultimately splitting in 2018. I actually saw Jen open for Courtney on her Lotta Sea Lice tour with Kurt Weill in 2017, and Jen was good. You know, she was a little more what you'd think of singer-songwriter-y kind of stuff, you know, acoustic guitar and mournful melody and all this. 14-year age difference between Jen and Courtney. So quite a bit of
days, seconds.
So in 2012, Jen and Courtney founded a music label called Milk Records to carry their material. That label would, through Jen's pre-existing success and Courtney's impending much bigger success, would go on to house a dozen artists, including being the exclusive Australian distribution label of Slater-Kinney.
Oh yeah, I know Slater-Kinney.
Carrie Brownstein, a wonderful actress and singer. Their latest record, awesome. In order to start this label up, actually, Courtney wound up borrowing money from her grandmother, and that year released 2 EPs on the label, which received huge critical acclaim and were combined to form an album release in 2014 called the double EP, A Sea of Split Peas. Now, this album is good. There are some great tracks on it. I sent you one of them last night, Avant Gardener.
Oh yeah, that was good.
My hands are shaky, my knees are weak. I can't seem to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm breathing but I'm wheezing, feel like I'm emphyseming. My throat feels like a funnel filled with Weet-Bix and kerosene. And oh no, next thing I know they call up AAA. I'd rather die than owe the hospital till I get old. I get adrenaline straight to the heart. I feel like Uma Thurman post-overdose and kickstart. Reminds me of the time when I was really sick and I had too much pseudoephedrine and I couldn't sleep at night. Halfway down high
Courtney tells these stories in her songs, and that song is about an everyday occurrence. So she walked out, she went and did some gardening in her backyard, and she wound up having an asthma attack that sent her to the hospital and nearly killed her. And so you get a flavor for the kind of songs that Courtney writes and records here. She does very slice-of-life stuff, zeroes in on little moments and expands them to be much bigger things.
Yeah.
Buzz was starting to build around Courtney, and the Australian music press was, hailing her as a new rock and roll sound, seemingly, and there's this air of a scene around her brewing in Australia, and, that culminated into her writing over the course of a year. Sometimes I sit and think, and sometimes I just sit, which is the album we're discussing today. And that was really her first actual album, a start to finish album. The one before it was just 2 EPs kind of crammed together.
Yeah.
Her UK label in advance of this one was Marathon Artists, and Marathon partnered with US label Mom and Pop to launch a guerrilla marketing campaign across major US and UK cities for this record we're talking about today, with billboard campaigns and all this stuff. So they were drumming up a lot of hype around Courtney, and fortunately for them, the songwriting could back the hype, and it really did wind up connecting with a lot of people. So her story, sometimes we go into these very elaborate stories about these artists we're talking about. Her story is fairly new. She was kind of kicking around, playing a lot of clubs, wound up getting together with another artist, stronger together, and then boom, things kind of took off. And so this album was recorded in April of 2014, and they were written, as I mentioned, over the course of a year. And one of the interesting things I found is when they were recording the album, Courtney only showed the songs to the band a week prior to the recording, even though they had been written over the course of a year. Right. So that they could sound fresh and stuff. And this album does have a very fresh sounding feel to it. The album was produced by Courtney and somebody named Burke Reed and Dan Lascombe at Head Gap Studios in Preston, Victoria, Australia. Recorded over 8 days, and Courtney wrote all the songs on it, and it also features bass by Bones Sloan and drums by Dave Muddle. The album title is funny. It was inspired by a poster in her grandmother's bathroom that she used to stare at when she was a kid. It's a quote from A.A. Milne. Are you familiar at all with A.A. Milne?
No.
Well, it's because you haven't been hanging around this quarantine house, because Winnie the Pooh is A.A. Milne.
Oh, right.
And my daughter is in a big Winnie the Pooh phase, to the point where she now says, "Oh, bother," pretty habitually. So we'll be sitting in a one room and then hear a giant crash in the room next door, followed by, "Oh, bother." That's how the album came together. It was released on March 20th, 2015. They recorded it a year prior, but they held on to it because of touring commitments. And it was debuted at 2015's South by Southwest Music Festival. Yeah. Very well received generally after it came out. It wound up being nominated for a ton of awards. Courtney herself was nominated for the Best New Artist Grammy in 2015, as well as 8 nominations and 4 wins for that year's ARIA, or ARIA Music Awards. So if you'll recall, Jen was nominated, ultimately did not win an ARIA Music Award. Courtney comes out with 1 album and gets 8 nominations and 4 wins from the same awards, and this really did kind of propel her buzz forward. She was nominated for Best International Female at the 2016 Brit Awards, and she was on May 2016 episodes of both Saturday Night Live and Jimmy Fallon, so she was hitting the press pretty hard. And, I remember people being fairly familiar with her, although she didn't perhaps quite have the crossover of some pop stars. I think people who were interested in rock and roll were aware of what she was doing.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of the background here. And from there, I guess we'll sort of saunter on over to my bullet corner. What do you say?
I think that's a great idea.
Good morning. I'm going to be your instructor. Okay, I know you're anxious to jump right in.
Okay, so Paul's bullet corner is where I summarize the albums with weird poetry, and we'll start here with bullet number 1.
Number 1.
Bob Dylan's spectral ooze draped upon Kurt Cobain's spirit, reincarnated as an Australian lesbian guitar god, poet, and curiously apathetic master of rhythm.
Sorry, I blacked out and Dr. Ray Stantz showed up.
Ray, let's close this place up so you can buy me a calzone.
Bullet number 2. Exactly the right amount of dirt on Oscar Wilde.
Ooh. Ooh, I like that one.
Sometimes you just got to put a little dirt.
Was I doing Wipeout? Ooh, Wipeout.
The epic apathy of the mundane, universal truth that shut up, you know, is true.
Oh, this is my favorite part of the quarantine.
My last bullet here, Warren Zevon's daughter.
Ooh. Was that the bullet? Wait, was there more?
That was the bullet. That was all the bullets.
That's a good bullet.
All right. So, I don't really know what to say about this record sometimes because I find it to be so perfect. I forget sometimes how perfect I find this record to be just from a pacing standpoint, from a tonal standpoint. It's just an appropriate snapshot of mood, feeling, day-to-day struggle, triumph. The thing I love about Courtney is her poetry, and in the song review, I'm going to pull up a lot of choice sort of stanzas per song and call them out, because when you're listening to the record, they kind of zip right by you, like jokes in Arrested Development or something, and you kind of have to go back.
BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, right. There's so many. There's just
so many visual gags, too.
There's a bulk here. So we'll start off with the album opener.
The old opener.
The album opener, Elevator Operator.
Headphone wielding to the Nicholas building. He trips on a pothole that's not been filled in. He waits for an elevator, 129. A lady walks in and waits by his side. Her heels are high and her bag is snakeskin. Hair pulled so tight you can see her skeleton. Vickers perfume on her breath. A tortoiseshell necklace between her breasts. She looks him up and down with the Botox frown. He's well used to...
Hey, that's an opening, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to throw in a lot of words around like best and maybe the best and quite possibly the greatest and the best. But is this the best on the album? I don't know. It's very, very, very good.
It's good. Yeah, I think it might be the best. It's my favorite, I think.
It sets the tone, and I texted this to you, and I put my own text to you in my notes, and I said, this album is great. It's so wordy, but it's a weird blend of wordy and easy music, but not stupid music.
Yeah.
There's something about the musical production and the beds of all of these that make it both, it's just so easy to listen to. Like, her words are just wrapped around this great vintage, but very modern production. It's not a lot of synthesis. You hear that distorted whirly and it's great drums, great clean bass. It almost has an American sound to it, which is why I was surprised to find out she was Australian.
Yeah. You don't find a lot of new artists mining the grunge era as much as you find a lot of new rock and roll artists mining the 70s rock sound. Pop artists are mining the 80s rock sound or pop sound. You don't really, there hasn't been that contingent of people who are digging through Pearl Jam and Alice in Chains and stuff in the same way. And she does, and she does it, like you say, in a modern sounding way, it's funny she was able to strike that balance. It might just be the production that's making it sound modern. I don't know.
Yes.
But it starts off with that pounding drum. It's not offensively loud or incessant in the production. There's dynamics, there's quiet moments and loud moments. It fluctuates, and it really is just a beautiful exercise in production. And I was actually really shocked to find out that she had produced or co-produced the record, because it doesn't sound like somebody's first turn at that stuff. I know it wasn't maybe her first traditional turn, but certainly as an album.
Yeah.
And right away you get those Dylan vibes. There's not really an obvious chorus that jumps out at you immediately, and by the time that the chorus does come in, you don't really even need it much, because the song isn't about the chorus. It's about a poetic picture that she's painting. So I'll read some of these lyrics from my favorite stanzas of the song. So we have, he waits for an elevator, 1 to
Paul,
9.
This is the exact one, starting with exactly that word I wrote down.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
So I also have a lot of highlights from this verse. So he waits for an elevator, 1 to 9. A lady walks in and waits by his side. And then I highlighted these next two lines, which means they're important because they're highlighted, Paul. Her heels are high and her bag is snakeskin. Hair pulled so tight you can see her skeleton.
Love
and it's
it.
like so much imagery packed The flipping of high heel, bag, snake skin, skeleton. Oh, it's great. Vickers perfume on her breath. What? A tortoiseshell necklace between her breasts. She looks him up and down with a Botox frown. He's like, you know, a Botox frown is just a smile, because if you get the Botox,
Yeah.
your face is, I'm so mad right now. I'm so mad at you. But it's just a jokersman smile.
You know, I didn't even realize that. Wow. I didn't even catch that. That's amazing.
Yeah. He's well used to that look by now.
Right.
What?
And that's what I mean by this slice of life stuff. That person becomes real. Like, we all have seen that person. And that, I especially like that, like the ones you highlighted, hair pulled so tight you can see her skeleton. Because, especially out here in Los Angeles, you know, you see a lot of this type perhaps around.
You see a lot. Well, you used to before we were in these bubbles. Get me out of this bubble.
Before we were all quarantines.
I just want to be a quaranteenager again, Paul.
Yeah. Boom.
Boo. Boo. You guys suck.
I pulled out a second stanza. He said, I think you're projecting the way that you're...
Exactly the same thing I pulled out. I'm not joking. This is not for the show. Yes.
You do it then.
How is this possible?
I don't know.
He said, I think you're projecting the way you're feeling. I'm not suicidal, just idling insignificantly.
Yeah.
That's some Elvis Costello, Bob Dylan.
Yep.
I can't even diagram it, that sentence, or explain why it's good. I just know. I know what I like. I come here for perception and clarity. I like to imagine I'm playing Sim City.
Love that.
Wow. I know exactly who this young woman is.
Yeah.
From these lyrics. And that's why they all of them paint such a picture. And that's why it's just endless. Like you're saying, it's endlessly listenable almost, all of this material.
Yeah, and that one concludes with, all the people look like ants from up here, and the wind's the only traffic you can hear. So, again, we've all been in that kind of a high place before and have heard that wind whipping, and it's deafening at that height.
Definitely, yeah.
And I love the use of SimCity here, because that should be kind of a lazy thing to do, to make a reference like that, but it's not. No. Because it's one piece of this larger puzzle. And so she's almost planting these little seeds for you to, you know, kind of water and grow on your own, if you're to know what they mean. You know, what she means is that the people, like when you play SimCity, you're up very high in the air and you see all these little tiny people and stuff. Just wonderful stuff. I love that it's a simple story, but it's kind of a dark story about a guy who's heading to an office and everyone thinks he's going to jump off the roof and kill himself. Yeah. But he's just going up there to get perspective on the world. And it's a simple story, but it's
very effective.
Eloquent, you know?
Eloquent, yeah.
Anyway, that's the opener track. Very, very good opener track. And then boom, what a transition into track 2, Pedestrian at Best. Another great song and a wonderful bridge.
Great title.
Yeah. The main thing in this one, and I love this, it's a play on somebody putting someone in a relationship on a pedestal. That expression is to hold them up into this high esteem. And she plays with the similarity in sound between pedestrian and pedestal. Yes. And plays back and forth between the two. So in the song she says, "Put me on a pedestal and I'll only disappoint you. Tell me I'm exceptional, I promise to exploit you. Mm-hmm. Give me all your money, I'll make some origami, honey. I think you're a joke, but I don't find you very funny." And that's the chorus of the song. And then the stanza, I want to wash out my head with turpentine, cyanide. I dislike the internal diatribe when I catch your eye. I hate seeing you cry in the kitchen. I don't know why it affects me like this. When you're not even mine to consider. Erroneous, harmonious, I'm hardly sanctimonious. Dirty clothes, I suppose we all outgrow ourselves. I'm a fake, I'm a phony, I'm awake,
I'm alone.
I'm homely, I'm a Scorpio. She's describing this, how she's...
Yeah.
She thinks of herself like, what do you mean? Like, what am I to you? Like, why am I special to you? I'm all these things, all these just regular things. But it's just a wonderful depiction of that kind of a relationship. And I wonder if this was about Jen or somebody before Jen. I have to imagine it's Jen because a lot of her songs, particularly on this album and the follow-up album, play with similar themes about relationships. So
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's me speculating.
No, it's everything you're saying. You nailed it on the head. It's like, I don't even have, I mean, you just wiped away all my notes with all that. You keep stealing all my notes, Paul.
This one, I do have an interesting fact about this one. It was written last minute. So the other songs were written much prior to this. And this recorded version of the song was the first time Courtney ever sang the words out loud even.
Wow.
Gives you that fresh snap.
That's amazing.
We'll move on from there to an illustration of loneliness, Sleepless in New York, track 3. Solid groove, great track 3.
Very good groove.
I'll lay awake at 4, staring at the wall, counting all the cracks backwards in my best French. Reminds me of a book I skimmed read in a surgery, all about palmistry. I wonder what's in store for me. I pretend the plaster is the skin on my palms, and the cracks are representative of what is going on. I lose a breath. My love line seems entwined with death. I'm thinking of you too.
I said the guitar licks, that riff that's in there. Man,
oh, yeah.
I'm thinking of you too, and then that riff comes in. Yeah, that's really what struck me right away about. And she's up at 4:00 in the morning, and then the time it goes backwards throughout the song, doesn't it? First, it's I'm up at 4, and then verse 2, she's up at 3.
Right.
So obviously these are different nights, or this is one where I was like, I mean, by this point in the album, like, okay, I get it, I'm in, I'm just gonna lay here, and it's more of a stream of consciousness style thing.
Yeah, I mean, what a track 1, 2, 3. Like see, this is a rock and roll record to me. Like, this is what I want in a rock and roll record. That it's just the right amount of fuzz guitar. It's just the right amount of clarity. I love that she's not like maybe a particularly good singer. She's like a good singer, but not like a great singer. She's more of a vocalist, but what I love about it is that they don't bury her vocal.
No.
Her vocal is so crisp and up there, and it forces you to listen to the words, and I think that's why they didn't bury it, is they want you to hear what she's saying.
Right. It's Art Deco, necromantic chic at the dinner. All the dinner plates are kitsch with Irish wolfhounds, French baguettes wrapped loose around their necks. I think I'm hungry, I'm thinking of you too. It's like, yeah, okay. She's definitely talking about, you said what her name was, Jen?
Yeah.
Possibly. Just another rambly old New York song with a good guitar riff. Lou Reed would be very pleased.
Yeah. I love the line, reminds me of a book I skim read in a surgery, all about palmistry. I wonder what's in store for me. I pretend the plaster is the skin on my palms, and the cracks are representative of what is going on. I lose a breath. My love line seems intertwined with death.
Whoa.
Tell
me how you feel, Courtney.
Some Dylan on there. You know?
Just a splat, just a smudge of Dylan. Just a spritz of Dylan.
Just a spritz. Just a little spritz. That brings us to track 4, Small Poppies. Our first turn toward moody kind of slow down. Pumps the brakes a little bit.
Well, it's 7 minutes long also, which I respect. Sometimes I joke with a couple of buddies of mine. We're like, if it's 7 minutes long, it seems short. I prefer like 14 to 19, like the Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, the songs have gone on for 12 minutes. Oh, here's the song now. Okay.
Right.
But yeah, this is my note. I said David Lynch could have used this in Twin Peaks if he wanted.
Wow.
I stare at the lawn. It's Wednesday morning. It needs a cut, but I'll leave it growing. All different sizes and all shades of green. Slashing it down just seems kind of mean.
That's a good one. Or Mulholland Drive or something.
Oh, yeah, a movie.
With all that. Yeah.
Very Lynchian.
It is Lynchian. I hadn't thought of it that way. I think this is a masterclass in sequencing because you really are hooked there for those first 3 to the point where you're ready to kind of kick it on this one for a minute.
Oh, yeah, I was in. I was like, okay, those are the first 3. I can listen to a 7-minute song right now. That's fine.
Yeah, and it also, the song itself varies a bit. There is a lull, but then there's that, I don't know why, who I am. And I love she kind of sums up the whole album really in the line, I used to hate myself, but now I think I'm all right. Which is part of the chorus there. And I just love that she's not afraid to live in the pocket, Yeah,
I agree with you on that. I don't know if you had this in your notes, but I was interested in the title because once I was reading the lyrics, I'm like, wait, what exactly is this about? So Small Poppies it's named after a pejorative term, tall poppy syndrome, which is used in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. It's a social phenomenon which, if someone is doing well, you criticize them to bring them back down to your level.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was a little taken by that song, and so I dug in a little bit. I actually did some research, and I'm not supposed to do a lot of research on this one.
Wow, that's cool. I love that they have a term for that. I feel like people do that here as well.
That's just called being American?
Yeah, just being a human.
Oh, yeah, you think you're doing good, huh? Your bubble's not as expensive as my bubble is.
Yeah. Or there's, punching up and punching down, right? That's what we call it over here.
Right.
I love the line too in this one. I'm sure it's a bore being you. Something kind of. Right. It's just there's little drops of acid, in there in that tongue of hers. That will bring us to track 5. Depreston. Now, you said at the top, is Elevator Operator the best song on the album? I would say Elevator Operator is the best rocker on the album.
Okay.
But actually, I think, and just for me personally, that Depreston is maybe not only the best song on this album, but maybe the best song she's written.
So what's the title? Because I thought when I was listening it was Depression. But it's Depreston.
Depreston. So it's all about how they're I assume her and Jen house hunting, and they went to a town called Preston.
Oh.
And so it's about how the house hunting experience is depressing. So she combined depressing and Preston to Depreston.
You said we should look out further. I guess it wouldn't hurt us. We don't have to be around all these coffee shops. Now we got that percolator. Never made a latte greater. I'm saving $23 a week. We drive to a house in
There's a grotesque nature to the meditation that she kind of sinks into here about. She's talking about houses, but she's actually talking about people. She's talking about slow dilapidation on houses, but it's actually kind of just about the slow dilapidation of the human condition.
Ah.
It's what I love about her, where she takes an everyday activity like this, zooms in on it just real close, and shows you how any one action is everything about humanity, all right there in that moment.
Right.
Think about any one distinct memory from your past that you can remember in great detail. Think about those details. If it's you in the car on a rainy day, the water running down the window on the car from the rain on the outside, or if you're in a field on a bright summer's day, the smell of that grass, that's literally all life is. That's just it right there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we all love narrative storytelling and stuff, but what I love about her is that she decompresses things in an effective way. And I've seen artists in a variety of mediums, be it movies, television, comics, whatever, decompress things in a hacky kind of way.
Sure.
But with her, she's doing it for a purpose. The chorus is perfect. The little mantra chorus at the end there.
The refrain.
Yeah, if you've got a spare $500,000, you could knock it down and start rebuilding. So there's an absurdity there. She's talking about like, yeah, of course, if you've got a spare $500,000 laying around. She's talking also, though, about how you could just tear down all the problems in your life and start again, but it's going to come at a great cost. So she's playing with all this metaphor and stuff. It's just everything about this song I just love.
It's really, really good. And I made the same note. And I think she's also saying, tear that house down. It's like you're erasing another person's entire life's work,
right?
At least in this area. And I guess that's why it makes sense. You said it ties into the title of it's like a portmanteau between Depression and whatever the city's called.
Preston, yeah.
Preston, yeah.
I love that she's wandering around the house and she sees the guy in Vietnam on the wall, and she's just she's passing by all of these countless memories that are strewn about this place. So great, very, very good. There's a great podcast called Song Exploder, which takes a song and has an artist just deep dive into everything about it.
That's a great show, yeah.
Yeah, Courtney did an episode about Depreston, so well worth a listen to Song Exploder if you haven't. But that brings us to track 6, Aqua Profunda. We're back up.
Back up with a little 2-minute slice.
60s flair on this one.
I saw you in the lane next to me. You were doing freestyle, then you switched it around to a little bit of backstroke. I couldn't see underneath your swimming cap, but it appeared that you had dark-colored hair. Maybe it was blonde for all I know.
That thing you do stuff.
I love that line. I much prefer swimming to jogging. Before she dips into verse 2.
Yeah.
All those little personality. You feel like you get to know Courtney on this record.
The lyrical themes are still like trying to figure out what's, going on in the world around me and inside my head, and dealing with friendships and relationships and just normal things.
Yeah, and I love that the surf rock flair of the song echoes the fact that it's all about swimming and stuff. The stanza I pulled out of this one: I tried my very best to impress you, held my breath longer than I normally do. I was getting dizzy, my hair was wet and frizzy, felt my muscles burn, I took a tumble turn. For the worse, it's a curse. My lack of athleticism sunk like a stone, like a first owner's home loan. When I came to, you and your towel were gone. It's just, I don't know. I've been at the pool in situations like that where you're thinking about other things, you're sort of zoning out and stuff. And it's just, it's great. Slice
meditative.
This is a track where the bassist really shines. I really like the bass on this one. And this is the one where I wrote it had an Elvis Costello quality.
Ooh.
High energy music on top of low energy lyric and intense description.
Exactly right. I think you nailed Elvis better than I ever have. For shame to me, but thank you, because I'm going to steal that.
Please. So that brings us to track 7, Dead Fox.
Dead Fox. A
song I think I would have been ready to write off and then suddenly turns into this perfect little thing for me.
Jen insists that we buy organic vegetables, and I must admit that I was a little skeptical at first. A little pesticide can't hurt. Never having too much money, I get the cheap stuff at the supermarket, but they're all pumped up with shit. A friend told me that they stick nicotine in the apples. If you can't see me, I can't see you.
I think it's a cool track. The music, especially the guitar tones and the tom work he's doing. Just the band is so tight.
Yeah. It's about them going to the supermarket. and the things they see along the way.
I also think a little pesticide can't hurt, but who knows? I'm probably wrong.
So that's my favorite line in the thing. My friend told me they stick nicotine in the apples or whatever.
What is that? That reminds me of the tobacco with the Simpsons. It's the tomato, tobacco, whatever.
I thought you said it tasted terrible. It does. But it's smooth and mild. And refreshingly addictive.
I'm addicted to these. This is my terrible Chief Wiggum. I hope you're enjoying my terrible impressions.
Holy Moses, it does taste like Grandma.
I want more.
But yeah, this one has a clear chorus. Some of these don't have a clear chorus.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't see me, I can't see you. It's a nice phrase for a chorus as well.
Yeah, and it's just the sign from the back of a truck, like about the side view mirrors.
Oh, didn't even get that. Didn't pick that one up.
I mean, it's because she turns it into a universal kind of thing.
Right.
So I think that's all intentional. I pulled out the stanza, heading down the highway, Hume. Somewhere at the end of June, taxidermied kangaroos are littered on the shoulders. So a lot of dead kangaroos, I suppose, litter the roads in Australia.
One must presuppose, yes.
A possum Jackson Pollock is painted in the tar. So an obliterated possum.
Bye-bye.
Which is, I think, the best kind of possum.
Yeah, definitely not the worst kind.
Yeah.
The worst would probably be the one that lands on your face in the middle of the night.
Are they the worst animal? Can you think of a worse animal?
An animal. A worst animal. I can think of a lot of bugs. Are bugs animals?
No.
Okay. Well, then no. Maybe a bat?
There's a line in this song I really love. It's where she says, sometimes I think a single sneeze could be the end of us. Now, who hasn't been in a relationship where you've thought a single sneeze could be the end of it?
Like, if you do another thing out of line, I'm out of here. I'm 50 ways out the back, Jack.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. There's some backwards guitar going on at the end there. Some little tickles my revolver bone a little.
I was going to say your revolver bone is showing, Paul.
Can you see through the bubble?
Yeah, it's very fogged up. Your bubble is very getting fogged from the inside. It's like Dennis Nedry's Jeep before he gets eaten by one of those fucking dinosaurs that spit acid or whatever the hell it is.
A Dilophosaurus. You made me Nedry laugh. You just made me Nedry laugh. The high-pitched squeal.
I can't do it. The squeal he does.
So that brings us to track 8. Nobody really cares if you don't go to the party. Is this the most perfect song title ever conceived? Because I posit that it is.
Yeah, very cool track. Love the title, the concept, the bass guitar work. I want to go out, but I want to stay home. I agree with you.
You always get what you want, and you don't even try. Your friends hate it when it's always going your way, but I'm glad that you've got luck on your side. You're saying definitely maybe, I'm saying probably no. You say you're sleeping, you're dead, I'm scared I'll die in my sleep. I guess that's not a bad way to go. I wanna go out, but I wanna stay home.
And but everybody's had that thought, right? That you're staring at that Facebook invite for weeks, knowing that it's coming, and you've clicked the maybe, and because you didn't want to say that you were going and then bail, but you didn't want to decline and be a dick, and so you're sitting in maybe land, and you're thinking about it and you're dwelling on it, and you know what? Nobody really cares if you don't go to the party.
Nobody cares, and no one will remember.
Yeah. So it's fine.
It gets harder in the winter. Gotta be a fake or a shiver. It takes a great deal out of me. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of these parties, you're like, why am I here again?
I pulled out, you always get what you want, and you don't even try. Your friends hate it when it's always going your way, but I'm glad that you've got luck on your side. You're saying definitely maybe. I'm saying probably no. You say you'll sleep when you're dead. I'm scared I'll die in my sleep. I guess that's not a bad way to go. And then it's, I want to go out, but I want to stay home. So Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
it's about a couple arguing about whether or not they're going to go to the party. Again, pretty mundane stuff, but boy, there's that sick solo in there, that fucking awesome rock and roll
That's
thing
really
happening,
good.
and yeah, I really love this track. Really love the sentiment behind it too. And then we get track 9, Debbie Downer. Now this one, my first note here is no rest for the Costello weary on this album.
Yeah.
Because this one was another one that had some Costello on it for me. Maybe not my favorite on the album, but it's okay.
Tell me when you're getting bored and I'll leave. I'm not the one who put the chain around your feet. I'm sorry for all of my insecurities, but it's just part of me.
It sounds like a Linda McCartney song straight off of that Wild, whatever that.
Oh,
I forget the
Wide
name
Prairie.
of it. Yeah, that's the one. It sounds like a Linda McCartney song, and yeah, that was the one. I was like, it's kind of. It makes sense that it's number 9. It's not closing the. They just like, you could strike this one off, and I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, maybe a B-side.
Yeah, I don't think it hurts the album per se. It just lengthens it.
So you posited this on one of our sessions. I don't remember which one, but you said, what's your ideal track total? 10 or 9?
Me, I like the Billy Joel 9.
The 9 perfect ones.
And if you're above 10, just give me 12. I don't want 14. And I'm saying that even on some Beatles albums. You're like, yeah, get rid of a couple of those. Yeah, get rid of them. It's all good. B-sides. I think an album, it should be short as possible.
I've been thinking a lot about that since you said it, and actually thinking a lot about, why don't they just knock some of these off? And so this is one I would have knocked. This is one I think I would have knocked. I would have knocked this one and Boxing Day Blues off of it, and you wouldn't have missed anything. But it's okay. I like the piano and synthesizer, whatever it is that's going on, given this one that's new wavy flavor. And there's a fun stanza. I'm growing older every time I blink my eyes. Boring, neurotic, everything that I despise. We had some lows, we had some mids, we had some highs. Sell me all your golden rules and I'll see if that's the kind of person that I want to be. If I'm not happy, I'll be glad I kept the receipts. So there's still great lyrics going on in this one, even though maybe it's not the best on the record, but some nice maracas, good atmosphere. It's fine.
It's fine, yeah. You're right.
Brings us to track 10, Kim's Caravan. I think this might be the best song about a suicidal seal depressed about the effects of climate change that was ever written.
Probably right about that. Mm-hmm. I would say you're definitely right about that. I can see Jesus and he's frowning at me.
That's right.
Watermarks on the ceiling, I can see Jesus and he's frowning at me. I see a dead seal on the beach. The old man says he's already saved it 3 times this week. Guess it just wants to die. I would wanna die too, with people putting oil into my air. But to be fair, I've done my share. Guess everybody's got their different point of view. I was walking.
It's just about her in LA venturing around eating French fries on the beach and reading about how nature is imploding upon itself.
We all think that we are nobody, but everybody is somebody else's somebody.
It's good.
She has a lot of really good lines right before her choruses, her chori, if you're a scientist.
Depressing thought, but a great chorus. Kind of a bitching end, too, with that hard strummed crescendo into the little whale song groove or whatever. I think this one you kind of just need the lyrics to get the portrait, so I'm just gonna read them real quick here. So watermarks on the ceiling. I can see Jesus and he's frowning at me. That's the one you said. I see a dead seal on the beach. The old man says he's already saved it 3 times this week. Guess it just wants to die.
Yeah.
I would want to die too, with people putting oil into my air. But to be fair, I've done my share. Guess everybody's got their different point of view. Holy shit.
Whoa. Heavy.
Yeah. It's a sentiment I've thought often, about how I think we're all on some level, even if some are more in denial than others, aware that we're destroying this planet that we're living on, but we don't really know what to do about it, and we all kind of want to do something to help, but we also acknowledge that we've done our fair share in destroying it too.
Yes.
Yeah. A great sentiment. You know what? A kind of a quintessential millennial sentiment.
Yes, I agree with you about that.
And that brings us to the ending of the album here, track 11, Boxing Day Blues.
I know that I let you down. You're not keen on what you found. When's the funeral? Do you want me to come?
This one I don't love, but it's kind of a nice slow burn to end the record on. You know, it's fine.
I like the minimalistic lyrics.
Yes.
They're the economy, rather, to say that maybe in a better way. I'm not what you're looking for. My house has an open door. You need a lock and a key. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Lover, I've got no idea. It's a good end, as you said.
Yeah, I love all your ideas. You love the idea of me. Yeah, it's...
The vibe. The vibe is great. It's really great.
Yeah, it's the vibe. Totally. So yeah, that's Courtney Barnett's Sometimes I Sit and Think, and Sometimes I Just Sit. I really was looking forward to this one because it is just one of my favorites out there. And if you haven't heard Courtney Barnett's other records, I highly recommend those as well. There is the great album she did with Kurt Vile, even though I'm not the biggest Kurt Vile fan, called Lot of Sea Lice, which is great. And then she put out one in 2018 too that is more like this. And that one has more breakup-y sentiments in it, and so yeah, I think that one may have been the Jen breakup record. But
yeah,
you know, she makes great music. She just this past month put out an MTV Unplugged where she does a lot of great covers and things, and she stays active. Had a mullet for a while there. That was unfortunate, but you know what? She's got a style. She's going for it. Why not?
Why not, man? Yeah, it's a great. You know, so I also looked up. It's a little bit of press. It's not a lot, but I was surprised. 8.6 on Pitchfork, and her all-music review for this from Stephen Thomas Erlewine was a 5 out of 5.
Hey,
gave her all the stars.
That's your boy.
That is one of my boys that I don't know. I pretend that I know. He writes, there are no frills here, but there is a distinct, compelling voice evident in Barnett's songs and music alike. That's what makes Sometimes I Sit and Think and Sometimes I Just Sit so invigorating. It may have roots, perhaps even some inadvertent ones, but it's music that lives thoroughly in the moment.
Yes.
Nails it.
I really like his stuff. I'm so happy that you introduced me to his reviews because I always love hearing them.
Oh, they're so good, his reviews. They're as good as some of the albums that he reviews.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope you're doing okay out there. I don't know when this one is going up because
I'm not.
We decided to kind of Ryan's.
I'm just kidding. I care. I'm very concerned for you. I hope you're doing well. That's why we are releasing these. We want to make you guys laugh.
Yeah. So the release schedule may be a little erratic, but it's just because we kind of wanted to get them out. So we'll get them done as we go. But thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hope you'll all go check out Courtney Barnett's stuff and come back next episode because we've got a really good one in store next time. Now, Ryan, sometimes you give me my new favorite albums of the moment, and this next one, I have to just tell the people it's my album of the moment right now. So very excited.
That's all I'll say.
See you next time.
Bye.
Do you have an opinion about the album we discussed today? Contact us at NowHearThisPodcast on Instagram, at NowHearThisPod on Twitter, Facebook.com/NowHearThisPodcast, or email us at NowHearThisOfficial@gmail.com. See you next time.
Oh, those tasty waveforms. Oh,
Waveforms. I know about stuff like that.
What's so funny? So I'm 15 minutes into episode 2, and we just started joking about coronavirus like it's some abstract thing that's affecting other people.
Right. This is getting edited out, I can tell, based upon Paul's reaction.
Well, let's call it borderline.